Hello, adventurers.
Hi.
Welcome to another Little Old Lady adventure. Today, we are in La Paz, which sits on the Colorado River, kind of, at the California border. And it has a really big history, one that I had really no idea. So I just want to give you, it's on a busy highway. I'm going to turn a little bit here and we're going to show you some of the stuff around us. You can kind of see a little bit of the foundation of a building back over here. And we are here at a memorial that I want to tell you about. So way back when, you and I were just little.
Well, you were little. I wasn't.
1862.
I was, okay.
Way back when, 1862, there was a mountain man by the name of Pauline Weaver. Now, I don't know if you know Pauline. That's big.
Yes, it is.
That's a big hay truck, because there's cows out here. So, way back when, Pauline, he was from up north. I don't remember if he was from Minnesota or where, but nobody's ever from Arizona. And he came through on his way to California, actually. There's a lot of places in Arizona named for him, one of which is Weaver's Needle in the Superstitions. But his name was actually Powell Weaver. And his dad was Canadian, his mom was Mexican, and none of the Spanish speakers called him Powell. They all called him Paulino. And I guess the white people could not pronounce Paulino. They called him Pauline. And it stuck. So he came west and I'm going to show you again. We're going to turn you around. Way out there, he found gold. He struck gold on the side of the Colorado River. And next thing you know, this place is booming. This place was booming. Now, it grew so much that in 2 years, there was 1,500 people living here. And it was a stage stop between Fort Whipple and San Bernardino. There were a lot of goods that were brought up, even from the Gulf down in Mexico, brought up the river. And so it was also used by paddle boats, the steamer boats. They had what they called, it was placers. And these placers is gold that is obtained from a secondary location. And it's when you pan for gold. Well, by 1863, it was pretty much exhausted. So next thing you know, they're like, well, we can still use this place as a port. It's still good. And then Mother Nature, because, Mother Nature's sassy, she's like, watch this. I'm gonna shift the river, because rivers, they do that. Mm-hmm. They'll just shift right out from under you. Sure enough, it shifted west and it left this place landlocked. All of a sudden, there's no reason to be here. And so, poof, it turned into a ghost town. Well, we were still warring with the Indians, and I'm gonna say Native Americans. They made this into a reservation, a concentration camp. And they put the Mojaves out here. So up north, they were warring with the Wallapais. And they said, you know what, we're going to take the Wallapais down south to that concentration camp and put them in with the Mojaves. Of course, little did they know, they were mortal enemies because they don't really understand tribes and how they work. But what they ended up doing was taking them from Fort Beale in Kingman and marching the Wallapai 160 miles south to La Paz.
Unbelievable.
I can't even imagine.
I can't either.
Now, we are here in the spring and it's 85 degrees. I cannot imagine being here in the summer when you are not used to this weather. You're used to snow up north. It gets in the 80s in the summer. And General George Crook, we all know him.
Yep.
If you've traveled I-17 through Camp Verde, he has a road named after him. And he saw all this and said, wow, these guys aren't doing so hot. So a year later, in 1875, they finally marched them back. But there were a lot of casualties in that time. And so now we are here in front of this memorial to the Wallapai ancestors, and we're going to show that to you here. If I can figure this out. Okay. Nope. Where won't this go?
Does yours slide, or do you have to push a button?
I usually have to push a button, but I cannot find that little button. So I'm trying to slide it.
I don't see a button.
Okay, well, we'll just do it this way then. So here we have, in memory of Wallapai ancestors, we honor our ancestors who died violent deaths at the hands of their captors and at this concentration camp. We greet the spirits of our ancestors and embrace their strength, their dignity, and above all else, the will to survive this Holocaust. The Wallapai people's strength and cultural survival endures for all future generations to come. This really is hallowed ground. And we are trying to be respectful. We have left our offerings and said a prayer. And now we are going to head south to the bustling metropolis of Ehrenberg.
All right.
Join us. Well, we have made it to Ehrenberg. And I have to say, first off, we had to leave La Paz. I hope you don't mind the air conditioning noise, but I said it was 85. Yeah, I guess I've been drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
94.
Okay. You know, what's 10 degrees between friends? So, we had to leave there. Now, we were on an Indian reservation. It is considered sacred ground. And we started noticing some things the more we hung around that made us kind of think we needed to hightail it out of there.
Yep.
Fran was she's a trained observer. And she noticed, she says, "What is that over yonder?" So I looked over yonder. Yonder's the dog. So I looked over yonder, and it looked like they might have been graves, but they were behind a fence with barbed wire. Now, it looked like there was a place where people had gotten through, and we thought, I don't want like no Indian curses or, that's bad juju right there.
Yep.
So we decided not to go check those out. But as we're turning to go back to the vehicle, we saw something else. And we can't explain what it is. We took pictures. I'm kind of afraid to look. I don't know what it was. It was in a tree. It looked rather large. I mean, it was far. It was big. And it was red. Now, I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, but I'm going to say it might have been Bigfoot. Or Chupacabra. I'm not sure.
I'm kind of leaning towards Chupacabra.
Either way, we left. We gone. And we decided to come south to Ehrenberg, have ourselves a picnic lunch. The river is right here. And so I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about Ehrenberg and then go take a look at what's outside the car.
But before we do that, she says to me, take pictures with your camera because it's better. So I take pictures of this thing in the tree, and I turn to look at her, and I see her beating feet
I'm nowhere to be
the
found.
car. And the car is a good 30, 40 feet maybe.
Exactly.
From us.
I was hardly gone.
Excuse me, she leaves me close to the fence of this sacred area.
Uh-huh.
You take pictures. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And I see her getting around the side of the car. I'm like,
I wasn't going to hang around.
Wait a minute.
Hey, one of us has to be able to call for help.
Oh, Oh, I see where this is going. So
I had the keys.
I get back to the car and I said, thanks for leaving me. Oh, she says, I was cooling down the car for you. Uh-huh.
I want to turn on the AC.
I don't want to.
It was 94, not 85.
I'm not buying that. She beat feet.
Hey, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that again. Mm-mm, not me.
I'll make you your own set of keys. So we were talking about La Paz and how when the river shifted to the west, everything came to Ehrenberg. So back in, what was it, 1863? You remember. Back then there was a German mining engineer by the name of Hermann Ehrenberg. And he was sent out here to survey the land because now it's starting to grow and now the port here is being used more, and they had a new steamboat landing, and back then it was called Mineral City. Well, miners had taken all their businesses away from La Paz, which was 6 miles to the north, and by September of 1869, the town had got so big, it got its own post office. The thing is, they didn't want it named Mineral City. So what they did was Mr. Ehrenberg loaned his name to it, and it became Ehrenberg. Come the 20th century, now railroads are taking over. And, you know, we can, even the freeway here now passes over, but there's train trestles nearby. So it started bypassing these ports. Now, the railroad was the way to move goods and services instead of these steamboats, the paddle boats. So it actually, by 1913, so many people had moved away that it lost its post office. It's like if you have less than 1,000 people, you don't get to have a post office. And there's less than 1,000 people. And I think there's only like 500 people here.
Wow.
Between 500 to 700, which is really kind of sad. Most of the buildings here by the 1950s were torn down. So there's really not a lot of historical buildings here in Ehrenberg. There is the meat market, which we saw, and an old church. Other than that, everything was torn down to make way for several trailer parks right here on the water, which is nice for them, you know. That's cool to be able to live on the water. That's awesome. But honestly, it's not very attractive.
No.
It's not, you know, this is a desert. It could be a lot dirtier. It could be a lot worse. It's also a truck stop. So there's, you know, it's not a lot to do here. It's a port of entry. You're going to drive through it. But if you do stop to take a look at some of these things, it is very cool. And they do have boat launches. There's one down right next to the freeway. If you're coming eastbound, if you take the frontage road, there is a boat launch down there, which, you know, might be worth something. But for right now, we're going to go and take a look at their cemetery. The cemetery, you know, has been there since the 1800s. I think the last person buried in there was actually sometime in the 1980s.
1988.
1988. Cool. Well, we're going to go take a look. We'll take you along with us. Come on. There aren't any dates on these markers, but except for, I guess, Peter's, which says 1899 was when he was born, I believe. But these are the Daniel family, and it's quite a large family. There are several graves. There's a mother, a father, and then several others, but it doesn't state how they're related. A lot of these graves aren't marked at all. We have some construction going on across the street, but you can see the mounds with the rocks. I guess without the construction, it would be very peaceful here. And it is very interesting to see all these members of this one family. So no road trip would be complete without a stop for some Mexican food. We are at Las Gamelas in Buckeye on MC85. These are the nachos. It's huge. This is a half order. It's ginormous. And the meat is so super tender. And here we got a burrito with some beans and rice. Again, just super yummy. The hot sauce has a little bit of a zing to it. It is super good. So if you're in Buckeye, check out Las Gamelas. It is yummy. Well, adventurers, that was a long day. That was a very long day.
Yes, it was.
But it was a great day. It was so much fun. We had a really good time. Ehrenberg is quite a drive. It is at the California border. So if you go, be prepared. And if you go in the summer, be prepared. We brought lots of snacks and drinks. So we were prepared for anything. And it was just a good time.
It was.
It was a little bit creepy, parts of it, but that's what it's for. And I don't know. I just had a good time. There's a lot of history there.
Yes.
For there being nothing at this place, there's a lot of history. So I would definitely go back.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd go back, even though there's like not much to see there. But it is kind of a cool place.
It is.
So if you're going to California, stop off there. You know, the truck stop was really nice. That gas station?
It was. It was clean. And
super clean.
Yeah.
Super clean. Lots of food. Lots of, like, knickknacks. Had a whole toy aisle. Go check it out. But anyway, I thank you for coming with.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we're going to plan the next one. Not sure where we're going next, but we'll figure something out. In the meantime, remember to be kind. Leave a heart print. Join us on the next one. Bye.
Bye.